After a 2-month investigation, 6 News is learning new details about what forced officials to shut down the Life O'Reilly mobile home park.
And for the first time tonight, we hear from the man who managed this park as it was falling apart.
Emerald Morrow first broke this story in February, and tonight, in part 1 of a 4-part series, she digs deep into documents that show management knew about the problem longer than you might think.
That's right. When I interviewed the owner, he told me he was making all the necessary repairs to keep the park open and was shocked to see it closed. But he had no idea I followed his nearly 2-year paper trail to health officials and contractors that shows he was well aware of the park's problems and the county's demands to make changes.
Frequent sewage backups. Overflowing in the yards.
Look at this. Look at it.
Drug deals going down in the streets.
Now look at this mess.
I don't believe that we should have to live this way.
Just 10 minutes from the beauty and splendor of the state capitol, once lied a community in despair. A community of dilapidated trailers where both the property and the people sat in disrepair.
It's bad. And nobody seems to be wanting to do anything about it.
For years, the Life O'Reilly mobile home park has been Lansing's outcast on the outskirts, an eyesore to insiders and outsiders alike. But on a frigid Tuesday morning in February, the Ingham County Health Department took unprecedented action.
Are you closing down the park?
There's a condemnation order.
Step by step, door by door, and with no warning to residents. Health officials slapped a condemnation order on the main office and told everyone in each of the 85 trailers they had just 10 days to pack up their lives and move out.
Where am I going to go?
What am I going to do with all my stuff?
Where am I going to go now?
A devastating blow, even for those living in filth.
I mean, it's just ridiculous how we have to live. This is not human-like.
Raw sewage on the ground, that's a public health threat.
So are feces spread throughout the property, broken sewer systems, and a park riddled with rodents and rubbish. All things outlined in this condemnation letter from the Ingham County Health Department.
It's hell.
So how could this property get so bad? And why didn't anyone do anything sooner? Question 6 News wanted answered. And that's where my investigation began. Through the Freedom of Information Act, I uncovered stacks of photos, emails, and notices from the health department, all showing the county and property managers have known about the problems for nearly 2 years.
The Ingham County Health Department was in contact with the owners of Life O'Reilly, dating back to probably as early as about April of 2012 regarding a number of issues.
April 2012 to be exact. That was the beginning of a lengthy paper trail to the owner of Life O'Reilly, William Whalen, who lives 700 miles away in New York, and the main manager, Steve Ramirez, who lives 1,300 miles away in Florida. Dozens of emails, phone calls, notices, and meetings outlining violations, giving this man chance after chance to make a change.
So who is to blame for the conditions here?
Well, I think obviously we have made mistakes here. I mean, I'm not going to avoid or say that we did not make mistakes. We've been working very closely with the health department. So whenever we were given anything to take care of, we absolutely took care of it right away.
Wait, let's hear that again.
So whenever we were given anything to take care of, we absolutely took care of it right away.
Not according to the health department.
Clearly he didn't fix the issues, or we would not have gotten to the point of condemnation.
The documents I obtained show the health department's concerns over Life O'Reilly started at least 2 years ago during an April 2012 inspection that discovered this unlicensed hose coming from a trailer dumping waste into an open sewer manhole. Officials cited it as a sanitation and safety issue and told Whalen and Ramirez to make repairs. But by June, still no fix. In January 2013, another letter went out detailing even more problems at the park. This time, excessive amounts of feces were found near the wastewater station. And in October 2013, officials say of the 64 campground lots next to the trailers, only 38 were licensed. There were also more sewage backups reported. Paperwork shows Ramirez did get proposals from contractors to fix some of the problems. He turned in those forms to the health department as proof of effort to improve. But Ramirez later said the $12,000 proposal was just too much, and it's not clear if that work ever got done. A month later, in November, more than a year and a half after that first contact, another inspection, another letter, and again, no change.
Well, the issues were not being addressed in an appropriate and a timely manner. Otherwise, we would have never gotten to the point of needing to condemn it.
Health officials say they were fed up. Still, they gave Ramirez and Whalen one more chance. It would be their last. So while Ramirez says this,
our getting closed down was as much of a surprise to me as anybody else.
According to this letter I uncovered, it wasn't. 3 months before Life O'Reilly was condemned, the health department warned Ramirez himself a shutdown was nearing.
Nowhere near enough of those issues were addressed in any way, shape, or form in order to keep from what happened.
Watch that wood, watch that wood.
And now that the hands of neglect have pushed more than 200 people from the place they called home,
I still don't know where I'm going or what I'm going to do.
Ramirez says he's sorry.
We absolutely want to provide our sincere sympathies for those that have been displaced, because the number one priority, of course, is our residents.
But to those who lost their homes, those words don't mean much.
He has no heart, he has no sympathy for any of us. Or he would have done the things that he was supposed to do to keep it up to code.
All right, yeah, very powerful report. Emerald joining us now. And Emerald, what sort of consequences are there for Mr. Ramirez besides the condemnation of his park?
Right now, there are no known legal ramifications at this point, but there are some entities that are trying to take some legal action.
All right, and we know this is a 4-part series of reports tomorrow at 6 o'clock. What will you be talking about?
Tomorrow, we are going to be talking about tenants at other mobile home parks across the state. We heard from them, and the common denominator is Steve Ramirez, and they're having those same problems across the state.
He manages some other ones around the state.
That's correct.
Wow.
All right, Emerald, thanks again.
Thank you.
Part 2 of our 4-part investigative series on mobile home park problems in the state. Yesterday, we followed the paper trail of problems leading to Life O'Reilly's closure in Lansing. We also introduced you to the man responsible for that park.
Well, tonight, Emerald Morrow continues to go on that trail with 3 other parks in the state, looking at them, and 1 in Florida, and they all have one common denominator, the manager of Life O'Reilly. Emerald?
That's right. I've spent the last 2 months pouring through stacks of court documents, health reports, business filings, and depositions. I found Steve Ramirez has a history of working with problematic parks and frustrated tenants.
Where am I going to go now? I have holes in my floor, my trailer, that he won't fix.
We didn't let people live with holes in the floor. We've made a lot of improvements.
Clearly, he didn't fix the issues, or we would not have gotten to the point of condemnation.
If there was a repair that needed to be made, we made the repair.
That has not happened.
He has ruined a lot of lives.
I can't say it's going to be okay because I don't know. I don't know.
Feelings shared by many of the more than 200 people who lived in the Life O'Reilly mobile home park, where faulty sewer systems, feces, and filth forced the Ingham County Health Department to condemn the property.
We're giving out a 10-day notice.
And force everyone from the place they called home.
So we just lose everything that we've been planning for 46 years.
We already introduced you to William Whalen. He owns the park. We called him for comment, but he told us to never call again. We did catch up with the next man in line. Steve Ramirez works for Whalen and manages Life O'Reilly.
Our number one focus, primarily right now, is getting this place back up to code.
And after 6 News ran our first story on the problems in the park back in February,
Look at this mess.
calls poured in about the same problems at 3 other parks across the state, with one thing in common: Steve Ramirez.
Owners, new owners, are slumlords.
Randall Thompson lives in a Flint park run by Ramirez and owned by his wife. It's called Shady Acres, and Thompson says it's all shady business.
They don't take care of nothing in this park anymore. All they do is collect rent and let the place go to hell.
Just 5 minutes away is Kirkwood Mobile Home Park. Ramirez runs this property too. Managers would not let us inside, so I filed a request with the city of Flint for documents of complaints against his properties. And we got these back on Kirkwood. Claims of trailers dumping raw sewage, broken sewer connections, holes in floors, and exposed pipes.
And there are major financial problems too. Utility records I uncovered show Ramirez's company owes $101,929.68 to the city of Flint for overdue bills.
A lot of times the water companies have not billed properly, so the billing gets really convoluted, so they end up working out a balance. We work out an arrangement with them, and we set it on a long-term payment plan.
That's what officials say he did at Triangle Mobile Home Park in Emmett Township near Battle Creek. Ramirez runs that park too. Officials there say Triangle owes close to $40,000 in utilities. But just like in Flint, finances aren't Triangle's only troubles.
We was without streetlights for 6 months.
There was even an incident where there was issues with the toilet flushing, and one of the maintenance men come out, dug a hole underneath the home, and had the pipe go directly into the hole under the home.
This letter from the Calhoun County Health Department points out a similar situation. A health official there reported large amounts of toilet paper, solid waste, and fluids under a trailer. That trailer was condemned, but documents show Ramirez fixed the problems and the condemnation order was lifted.
We come in and we take a distressed property. We go in there and we turn the park around.
Ramirez says since he's taken over, crime is down and the Calhoun County Park is a lot cleaner. I talked to the building inspector who tells me he agrees, but not everyone is convinced, especially not lawyers who filed a complaint with the state on behalf of those living in the park.
You'll see a lot of units here that are on cinder blocks that are precariously poised without being properly installed. I mean, I think a lot of people in this park are living in a dangerous condition.
And it's not just happening here in Michigan.
It's a septic tank and it's overflowing.
People in Florida thought the same about their park, another one that suffered under Ramirez.
Everybody gets these false promises and nothing seems to be happening.
Back in 2009, Ramirez managed Melody Acres in Lakeland, Florida, where tenants there dealt with broken septic systems.
It's atrocious. The smell is atrocious.
Well, they're overflowing. They're coming up all over the ground. It's been happening for years.
Put it this way, I have to plunge my toilet every 3 flushes.
Ramirez says he doesn't work with that property anymore, and the problems there were fixed.
That's, again, another prime example of where we take a distressed situation, we turn it around, we fixed it up, we solved it.
But I did some research and found out why he might have left Melody Acres. The company that owned it went bankrupt, and you'll never guess who took over. William Whalen. And just last year, the park failed 2 of its 4 inspections. But whether it's Lansing, Flint, or Emmett Township, it appears Ramirez can't seem to escape the problems. The problems that's left those he's supposed to serve with frustration, anger, and pain.
We're all suffering here. Basically, people that live in trailers are poor.
Yeah.
Wow, powerful series, Emerald.
Sure is. So I know this continues through Thursday, so what are we going to see tomorrow, Wednesday?
Well, tomorrow we have been seeing so much about how many of people in Ramirez's parks live. I was curious about how he lives. So tomorrow I'll take you inside Ramirez's ritzy life, and you won't believe the reaction we got from residents and from his tenants.
So he's not living in a mobile home, is he?
No, he's not.
Oh, okay.
What a surprise. All right, Emerald, thank you
Thanks,
for that.
Emerald.
Well, as people forced from the Life O'Reilly mobile home park over unsanitary conditions piece together their lives again, the property manager there says that he has fixed all of the problems and plans to reopen the park.
Emerald Morrow's been following the story since she first broke news that Life O'Reilly was closing. And Emerald, how is it possible to reopen a condemned property?
Well, this notice from the state shows the license to run Life O'Reilly is suspended, but county officials say if management brings the park up to code, they'll be allowed to reopen. So while there are some complications between state and county laws, reopening might be easier than you think.
You still put this on the porch, right?
Yeah, the brown one.
As Becky Gilbert was packing up her life and moving out, she wasn't sure what was going to happen next.
I still don't know where I'm going or what I'm going to do.
Just 9 days beforehand, the health department condemned the Life O'Reilly mobile home park for unsanitary conditions, forcing everyone out,
Right there.
whether they wanted to leave or not.
Raw sewage on the ground, that's a public health threat.
Steve Ramirez of Florida manages the park and works for William Whalen of New York, who owns the property. Under the Freedom of Information Act, documents I uncovered show the health department repeatedly warned Whalen and Ramirez a condemnation was on its way. But Ramirez insists he corrected the problems and there was never any raw sewage to begin with.
We had simply responded to any of the latest requests as of, I think the end of December was our last communication with the health department, and everything was A-OK at that point in time.
Well, the issues were not being addressed in an appropriate and a timely manner. Otherwise, we would have never gotten to the point of needing to condemn it.
So we spent about $120,000 a year. So in total here, since I've been here, we've spent well over $600,000 in improvements. So it's not like the owner sits on his hands.
And although it's shut down for now, Ramirez says he plans to reopen.
Our focus right now, or my focus and my responsibility, is on this park here, getting this turned around as quickly as possible.
And even with all the problems Life O'Reilly's had,
Hey, look at this. Look at it.
county officials say it can happen, but not overnight.
He's made some effort, but that has not happened. Therefore, his license was not reinstated for that campground. The campground is shut down officially. In order for him to bring it up, he'll have to reapply for a campground license, and you'll have to bring the campground into compliance with the state and local law.
It's exactly what Ramirez says he plans to do, but because the park's license is suspended right now, that's just not possible.
What if it really was a bear?
Emerald's here with us right now. So when exactly could the park be relicensed?
Well, it could take a little while. Owners have to go through a court hearing, and I'll be touching on that tomorrow, as well as what government on city, county, and the state levels are doing to keep this from happening again.
All right, it'll be interesting to see how this all develops.
It will.
Thanks, Emerald. After Ingham County health officials condemn the Life O'Reilly mobile home park, frustration continues to mount. Could the city have prevented this entire situation?
Well, Emerald Marl's been trying to find out that question. She's been leading our coverage on this story ever since we first broke the news on this back in February.
And in the final part of our 4-part special report, she examines what the city says went wrong and what lawmakers are doing to make sure this never happens again.
Well, from City Hall to the Capitol, there's still intense outrage over what happened at Life O'Reilly. City officials say they were aware of the problems and wanted to do something sooner, but that the state would not let them. Tonight, we clear up the confusion and show what is and is not being done to take care of this mess.
We're giving out 10-day notice.
By now, you've probably heard the background. The Ingham County Health Department condemned the Life O'Reilly mobile home park in February.
Raw sewage on the ground, that's a public health threat.
Giving more than 200 residents just days to pack up and get out.
And they wait until the last minute to give us 10 days. It's bitter cold. There's like 3 feet of snow out there.
After giving owner William Whalen of New York and manager Steve Ramirez of Florida almost 2 years worth of notices, letters, and warnings with a list of improvements to bring the park up to code.
The rumor and innuendo to say that there's raw sewage on the ground going all over, we simply didn't find it. So whenever we were given anything to take care of, we absolutely took care of it right away.
Nowhere near enough of those issues were addressed in any way, shape, or form in order to keep from what happened.
Where am I going to go? What am I going to do with all my stuff?
I still don't know where I'm going or what I'm going to do.
We're reaching out to them. What can we do to help them? You know, we're willing to help them any way that we can. I've had 3 residents contact me. I've given them, we've given them money so they can move into other places.
And a lot of people are angry at Mr. Ramirez for doing this. I am angriest at my state and county agencies.
The condemnation has cost the city quite a bit, and so far the city has spent nearly $70,000 on transitioning people from Life O'Reilly. State offices like the Department of Human Services have chipped in even more, bringing the total cost to an estimated $200,000.
What would you do if these were your neighbors? These are citizens of the city. They were the units that they were in were condemned through no fault of the citizens.
But could the city have done more and acted sooner? City officials say no.
We're not looking to control these mobile home parks, but we need to be more involved in them. And I think that's only fair to those residents. Anyone who opposes that isn't looking out for the best interests of those residents.
Officials have said restrictions in the state's Mobile Home Commission Act limits their power to make routine inspections.
Mobile home parks are under separate jurisdiction, and they fall under state law and the state Mobile Home Commission, manufactured home. And so we can't do the kinds of inspections and the kinds of, enforce the kind of regulation that we normally would in a neighborhood in the city.
Except that's not exactly true. In 2010, Public Act 215 amended the Mobile Home Commission Act to allow local government to adopt inspection ordinances for mobile homes. So why didn't the city do that?
They basically kept this technical bulletin a secret. The bulletin was issued in 2010, and yet it wasn't really issued. In other words, it's the old, if a tree falls and nobody hears it, what sound does it make? This bulletin was never distributed. The state failed miserably. I mean, there can be no mistake about it.
The state says it's a city's responsibility to keep up with changes to the law. But it shouldn't be hard for Lansing officials to keep up with this.
This bill is about protections and is about ensuring that the people in a mobile home park are living in a place that is safe.
City officials worked with Representative Andy Shore on a bill to amend the Mobile Home Commission Act.
So if the owner is not going to fix them and is going to continue to get cited and not do anything, instead of having to go right to evicting the residents, we're going to allow someone to come in and make those changes and then assess the park owners.
But what about the state? It has the Manufactured Housing Commission, which has the power to penalize parks that violate the Mobile Home Commission Act. The chairperson has not returned our numerous phone calls, and another member said she hadn't even heard of what happened at Life O'Reilly. The commission only meets 4 times a year and was supposed to meet on March 19th, about 3 weeks after Life O'Reilly was shut down. But the commission canceled that meeting and is not scheduled to meet again until June. The Bureau of Construction Codes inspected the park in April and September of 2013, but they didn't file an administrative complaint with the judge until a few weeks ago in April of 2014. The Bureau also suspended Life O'Reilly's license several days after the county condemned the place. Too little, too late, the city says, as the damage to hundreds in Lansing who've lost their homes has already been done.
They are being exploited. They are being put upon. These often are people with very little economic means. Sometimes this is, sort of their last resort housing, and the landlords have taken advantage of that. It's really disgusting.
There is so much to this story, Emerald, and you did a wonderful job trying to explain things. It's involved. So I guess the question, to simplify it, what happens now?
Well, the legislature will hold several hearings and will vote on the bill that we talked about that gives cities more power to act on mobile home problems. But a judge will also hold a hearing on those code complaints against Life O'Reilly. That is sometime later in June. And the Mobile Home Park Commission we told you about has another meeting scheduled. Both of those things happen in June, and we will definitely let you guys know what happens.
It seems as though, these people fell through the cracks there for a while.
Did.
Absolutely.
Emerald,
Thanks,
thank you
Emerald.